it's important to just accept the feeling, but also see that feeling as almost like the thread that will guide you, or the breadcrumb, whatever you want to call, that will guide you to identify where your life force energy is trying to move, where it's trying to go to the next level, And so I see negative emotions as almost like a healing. It's like a healing crisis where some deep wound is coming to the surface, or some deep limiting belief, or some maybe negative belief about ourselves is trying to come through our body and come into our conscious awareness so that it can be healed and released. So when you start to see it that way and see that there's really gold there in those negative emotions, but it's about knowing how to transform them. I'm not saying don't get rid of them, they're bad. They're there for a reason, really. Yeah. So you want to use them as a tool to take you to the next level. And that's where the mastery comes in. This is something I've been doing for 25 years. And I've had 25 years of experience, so I can speak to it. And that's why I do what I do, is I guide other women, because as women, we have very powerful emotional bodies. And that energy can be used as a creative healing force when we know how to transform it and use it as the...
I'm Autumn Bensett, founder of the Bossy Babe brand, fitness coach, and serial entrepreneur turned intuitive life and business coach. The Wealthy Babe podcast is for the ambitious, courageous, and spiritually charged up woman in network marketing, craving wealth not only in her bank account, but in every aspect of her life. Get plugged in here each week for authentic and unfiltered conversations from myself and industry leaders who are going to support you and give you all the juicy behind the scenes and real talk around business, spirituality, strong points of view, and doing shit differently. This is a safe space to come undone, be heard, and be given permission to rewrite your own damn rules. So here we go. And welcome, Dr. Sandra. I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm so grateful that we get to chat today. Before I even jump in and you guys get to know more about who Dr. Sandra is, I'll just mention her full name too, just so then you can search it. It's Dr. Sandra Camacho, and you guys, she is a auric field consultant, which supports women entrepreneurs to create more wealth and success in their business. And I was just chatting with her before we got started here and told her that I've never had anybody on the podcast that has done what she has done and what she does. And I'm really excited for you all to hear from her today. So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Sandra.
Oh, it's great being here, Autumn. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. So before we dive into all of the juicy, beautiful content, could you tell us more about what an auric field consultant is and how you got started doing what you're doing?
Well, basically, what I do is I can see the energy field that surrounds a person's body. And by looking at that energy field, I can help them identify where they are subconsciously blocked. Because when I look at the field, if there are conflicting limiting beliefs or old programs, they actually create dark patches in the field. And depending on the color and where they are located in the field, I can identify pretty specifically what that limiting belief is or that program that's blocking that person's life force energy from flowing out into the world the way it's trying to do. Because basically, our life force energy is our soul connection to source, and that creates what's called our light. People always talk about shine your light. It's absolutely true. When we are not being controlled by limiting beliefs or programs, our light shines really bright. And our soul tribe totally gets us and connects to us because they see our light, they recognize our light, and they resonate with our soul. If we're being controlled by old limiting beliefs or programs, say we grew up with a really critical parent, or maybe even, God forbid, in an abusive situation, we will hold our energy back in kind of a protective, defensive way, or just because we're afraid. We're afraid that who we are isn't good enough, we can't be who we are, we have to be somebody else, that's what programs are. So I can identify specifically what those are that are controlling a woman and help her identify and release them. And I use energy work to help them release it from their field. That's basically what I do. And when we do that, what's beautiful about it is the transformation is very deep and very quick, and the woman just immediately gets insight and clarity and confidence about how best to move forward in her life and her business. That's really in alignment with who she is on the soul level. So it's totally fun, and it works really well for people. And I love what I do.
It's so fascinating. I love that you have this gift and you have this beautiful ability to be able to truly see the light that we all have within us. And actually, because we speak about this, right? It's a term that's spoken about in spirituality a lot, that we have this light. But for you to confirm that there really is this light that we all carry, and when we're these clear channels and we've been able to heal the programming and the patterns and the things that are so deeply embedded subconsciously, that it like amplifies it. That is the magnetic attraction. That is exactly that. That's so beautiful that you're able to confirm that. You're like, yes.
Totally. That's totally what it is. I mean, what I love about it is it actually makes it very simple for people to understand, because in sort of these conventions, I call them there's like this male warrior conventional kind of coaching model, which is just make yourself do whatever is supposed to work, and it's very linear, and it's about pushing yourself. And literally, that is just another form of programming. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I see women entrepreneurs hitting up against, is trying to separate what they've been told they should do to be successful in their business versus what their soul is how their soul is trying to guide them so they can truly be successful in their business in a way that's really aligned with them on the soul level. And they could be two very different things, and that's where a lot of confusion comes in for women entrepreneurs, because the male warrior model, the thing about the male warrior model is that it might help a woman be successful maybe in a limited material way for a limited time, but then she ends up hating the business. So that can happen. Well, sometimes it just doesn't even work for her, and it's just like, I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting anywhere, because it's not in alignment with who she is on the soul level. But when we do what's in alignment with us on the soul level, things just open up, synchronicities start happening, we attract clients we love working with, because it's our soul that's manifesting our success for us. Yeah.
So beautifully said. How did you get into this work? Because you've been doing this for a couple of decades. So where did this all start for you?
I used to be a chiropractor. Yeah. And I really wanted to help people heal in a real way. And I always believed really early on, before I went to chiropractic school, that our mind and our emotions and our body are very much connected. And this was like in the late 80s, before people were kind of even thinking this way. So when I went into practice, I really had a desire to help people heal on mind, body, spirit. So when I started working with patients, I felt like inadequate to really help them because I really believe there was always, when a person came into me with chronic back pain, I always intuited, okay, there's something else going on. Why is their back pain not going away? Why is it, and they can't find anything on the x-ray. So I started getting clairvoyant training to help me kind of see people intuitively. And what happened was, because of the clairvoyant training I had, I think because it just started sort of happening spontaneously, separate from the clairvoyant training. Clients would come in, and I started seeing pictures around their bodies, and the pictures would give me information about what was going on with them on a subconscious level. They were basically visual metaphors about whatever subconscious conflicts they were trying to process at the time. So I would talk about the pictures, and by talking about them, I would also kind of get an insight about what was probably what it represented. And that's how it started happening. And then eventually the pictures turned to colors. One day, all of a sudden, I didn't see any pictures around my clients. That one day, boom, I just see these colors. And then I just intuitively could understand what the colors were, because the colors are related to the chakras, yes, the energy of the chakras. And if it's light or dark, it means whether it's blocked or it's swelling, and depending on where it is. So just the meaning, it was just very clear almost immediately what the colors meant. And it was a tremendous relief, because interpreting images is actually much more challenging than reading somebody's aura. Reading somebody's aura is really cut and dried. It's just the information is just very direct. So that made things a lot easier. And then that made me even more excited about working with the subconscious mind, because I was getting this really direct information. And so what started happening was I started getting more and more women entrepreneurs coming to me as clients, because they were on this cutting edge of wanting to break through their blocks. Because what an entrepreneurship is really a personal growth journey. It absolutely is. So women, and men too, but I work mainly with women. When we are on that entrepreneurial journey, we have to identify and release these blocks so we can get to that next level of success and fulfillment in our lives. So as entrepreneurs, we're on the cutting edge always of this personal growth journey. So the more and more my clients came to me were women entrepreneurs. So eventually I just moved into coaching women entrepreneurs. And that's what I do now, is I help women entrepreneurs grow their businesses and attract more of their clients by releasing the blocks that they are holding around being able to do that.
What a powerful journey that you had, going from such a, I don't want to say maybe it's a masculine driven world, but going from like this position where you're showing up probably for work for, a certain time to a certain time, and it's all driven within the body, and you went to school, and, you were this chiropractor, and then you had this deeper knowing, leaving a position and probably security and I think you went to, chiropractic school is not like a small, my boyfriend's sister is in chiropractor school right now over in the States, because we're in Canada, and it's, it is an extensive thing to be able to work with someone's body in such a delicate way, and then for you to take such a transition into energy work and helping female online entrepreneurs, or female entrepreneurs in their businesses. That must have been also a journey on its own, of the things that you probably utilize, the things you teach on, to work through your own limitations or your own fears and your own, probably the things that came up for you. What was that journey like? Because I have a lot of entrepreneurs who do listen to this. So they're probably thinking like, wow, like she was so established in this world and what she was doing in this work as a chiropractor. And then to take such a big leap to shift that and to trust an inner knowing within you that you have this gift, and you're going to be supported online, and you're going to be supported working with entrepreneurs. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what was your process in your journey like, transitioning and coming to this realization and allowing yourself to have this truth and allowing yourself to say, I get to make the rules, and I get to change this, and I get to have this too?
Well, I was in private practice as a chiropractor.
Okay.
So I was an entrepreneur already.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Private practice. No one was paying me. I had my own business. So it was a very organic kind of
Got
thing.
you.
Really, the thing that for me was the most challenging, because when I was a chiropractor, I never did any, and this was my big challenge as a chiropractor, as an entrepreneur, period, was coming out of the closet as an auric field consultant. Because when I started seeing these pictures around my patients' bodies, I was actually quite afraid if it got out that I would lose my chiropractic license.
Wow.
Because I really did. This was in the late '80s.
Got you. Okay.
Before anybody started doing this, and I was really afraid. People, she's doing this really woo-woo stuff. I was really afraid, and it could be just my own fear. I don't know if they could have actually taken my license away for doing that or not. But I was very, very. I kept it very secret. My clients were always by referral only. And because I really didn't know if how much the public would accept this, and obviously the people came to me, people who already accepted it and who were on that wavelength. But my challenge was coming out publicly, like online, talking about this. And it took me, when did I first start talking? And even my husband was saying, don't tell them you can see colors. They'll think you're afraid, So, I mean, it wasn't until, I think it was like 2010. I mean, it took me that long before I could come out and actually talk about this in a public forum, that I was seeing the aura, and I work with the auric field, and I saw colors in people's bodies, and that's how I helped them, get insight into what was going on, and how I helped, empower them and guide them was through this information I got through their aura. Because, my boyfriend was, they'll just think you're a freak. That's just way too out there. So that's been my challenge, and it's just been really in the past 3-4 years that I really felt comfortable marketing myself, my business, as an auric field consultant, because I was that inhibited. It was my own programming. That's weird, or I'm being, I'm showing off, and this is what comes up, and this is what I see with women. There's a real conflict around visibility, because as women, I really believe as women we get messages. We're supposed to be quiet. We're supposed to be in the background. We're not supposed to be the leaders. We're not supposed to be out there tooting our own horn. It's very male. It's like, it's great for men to do that. Then they're real men and they're really macho or whatever. But if a woman does that, oh my God, she's just an uppity, loud yacht or whatever.
Yep.
Or, So that's, female cultural programming. And this is what I see with my own clients is female cultural programming. Absolutely, without question. The thing that holds women back more than anything else is female cultural programming that we've absorbed from our patriarchal culture. And it's very endemic, and it's very deep. And even women who consciously think they're pretty aware, and they are aware, a lot of times don't have this stuff in there really deep, holding them back in ways they don't even realize. And then, look at their film, they'll tell them about, oh my God, you're right. But, it's very deep, because we've gotten it since we were born, and it's literally been handed down from mother to daughter, from generation to generation, from millennia, because the patriarchy has been in power for millennia. And that is absolutely, that's the thing, that this is my mission, is to reach as many women as possible with this work. And hopefully one day I want to start training other women to do the work that I do, because it's so needed. Because women hold it literally is like the average woman is wearing an energetic burqa. Do you know what a burqa is that they wear in Afghanistan?
Yes.
And the burqa is created, the energetic burqa is created from patriarchal cultural programming. We're not supposed to shine our light. We're not supposed to shine our light. I know it sounds kind of heavy. I don't want to be that, but it's really true. You know, I mean, it's just, and then you pull that programming out, boom, everything shifts, and the woman just becomes much more comfortable just being who she is, whoever that is. I mean, you know, we all have different gifts. We all have different skills. You know, like you do alchemy and things like this. If you talked about that 15 years ago, whoa, you know what I'm saying?
100%, right? Like, you know, and I completely agree with everything you're talking about, and it's not heavy, I think. And if it is heavy, it needs to be heavy. You know, if that's what it's coming up for you, then that's beautiful, and that's the way that it should be. Because I'm actually, you know, I even experienced something like this weekend. If I'm being totally transparent and open here, this is something I teach on a lot deeper foundationally in my programs. In Luscious Money, I have a money program, and I talk very much in the very beginning about our conditioning and programming as women, in how we receive, in how we allow ourselves to have, in the shame and the guilt that we carry around our desires, in our voice, in our truth. And this weekend alone came with a huge opportunity for me to stand strong in my truth, and in something that I believed in a way that was, it wasn't rude, it wasn't loud, it wasn't obnoxious, it wasn't any of those things, but it was truth, and it took up space, and it made everybody around me uncomfortable. It made every single person around me react and respond in a way that me now, right? I'm like, oh, I get it. I know, because it's conditioned. You guys are conditioned and programmed that I should be quiet, that I shouldn't speak my truth, that I should go with the way that you want me to do. But I'm not. This is a whole, you know, there's a whole story and a whole thing to this, but it's something that I got a deeper understanding and knowing, basically, like this weekend, of the generation, like my family, the other people around me, how deeply rooted it is to please other people, how deeply rooted it is to quiet your truth and diminish what you need and what your boundaries are and what your truths are, because it, you know, how dare it make them uncomfortable? How dare it make them look at their reactions or their actions and who they are being? How dare it, right? And so it's so powerful. This work is so important. I've said so many times, like, yes, it's been difficult. Yes, it's hard to shake things up. Yes, it's difficult, but this is the way that it should be. We should all be able to have this knowing in our truth. We should all be able to feel like we have the safety or the freedom to be able to speak our truth and what we need without it meaning something about you or who you are, or, you know, this is such a deep conversation, but I'm grateful that you're bringing it up, and I'm happy you are, because it is something that I think we have awareness of, like we know, but actually living and embodying that ability to own your truth and to be able to stand really strong in what you need and to remove the programming in real time, right? Because it's one thing in a situation or online when you're speaking here, right? Like, we can talk all day about owning your truth, but when you're in a real situation with family or with clients or owning what you want to do in your life, it's a whole different thing to actually embody removing shame and guilt and knowing what you want and allowing yourself to shift that programming and conditioning that you've had, like you said, for generations, because it's embodied from your grandparents and how they raised your mom, and then how your mom or your dad was raised, and then the schools you went to and the people you're surrounded by, and then the friends and their parents. Like, this is the first generation, I feel like, that I'm in right now, where there's this awareness of this is a problem. This is not just like a small problem. This is decades and decades and decades of conditioning and conversations and lack of boundaries and people pleasing and shame and guilt that we've carried in corporate world and in just everyday life. Like, it doesn't really matter where you come from. Like, I think every woman is totally feeling. So thank you for that example. And thank you for speaking on this. This is an incredibly important conversation to be having.
Yeah, it's what's shaping our culture. And This is why it's so important, because if women have all this charge around being able to be who they are, and they can't give themselves, emotionally can't give themselves permission to do that, stand up to men, stand up to the violence, stand up to all the abuses that are going on in the patriarchy, it will continue, you know. And what I see with my work is when we don't have charge around something, the people we interact with don't have charge around it. So if we don't have charge around speaking our truth, the other people get it. And they just take it in and go, oh yeah. It's when we have charge around speaking our truth, it's when we have charge around being who we are, that it can't be received by other people. And that's the part that I see, because it's in the body. Like the energy work I do is reprogramming the body. You can't just turn off my, okay, great. So you have to really pull out the programming on the body level, because the body is where the emotional reactions come from. And really, the body is a reflection of our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is 95% of our energy consciousness is subconscious. So we need to reprogram that subconscious mind that's in the body, that's what's creating our body, creating our emotional reactions, and rewire it. It's literally like rewiring the nervous system, so we respond differently in situations. So we respond with grace and with calmness and with clarity when we speak our truth, and other people respond to us speaking our truth. And when we're in that centered, clear, calm place, then what we say is received by other people, and they get it. And it's powerful. It's a powerful exchange of information and truth. And that's what I find really empowers women, and empowers women in the business, empowers women in their life. And I can't say enough about it in terms of how important it is right now for women to be able to do that, really.
Absolutely. It's incredibly important for us all to have these tools in our toolkit. So then in these moments in time, we have the support that we need to be able to move through them. How do you do this? How, if, for somebody who's listening, what is a way that maybe they could also not just reprogram their mind, but also reprogram their body and help them to be able to have this shift happen on such a soul level?
Well, when someone wants to do their own reprogramming, they need to access what's in their subconscious minds. And really, the most direct way to access what's in your subconscious mind is your feelings. So when we have uncomfortable feelings about something, we know we're hitting up against some kind of limiting belief or subconscious block. And then once we get a hold of that fear or that doubt or that limiting belief, then we clear it with tapping. I have a free toolkit. It's called the Inner Wealth Toolkit, that I offer to people who want to try to do their own inner work without working with me. And it has a color chart which helps the person identify what the energy block is that they're hitting up against on a subconscious level. It's a diagram of 8 color blocks in 8 different colors, and the person just clicks on whatever color they're most drawn to, and that will give them information about how their energy is currently being blocked, how their subconscious mind is currently being blocked from moving forward in the way that they want. And then there's a step-by-step energy healing process that I walk them through in the toolkit to help them clear out whatever that block is. So that's the one thing I can offer, because, our subconscious mind, the reason it's so powerful is exactly that. It's subconscious. We're not consciously aware of what's in our subconscious mind. It's like we're a goldfish in water. We can't see the water. It's been with us for so long. So we need some kind of tool, some kind of external thing that helps us get a hold of that. And it is it can be very challenging to do on your own. But I do offer that one toolkit that is, people give me great feedback about it, and it's very helpful to get a hold of those limiting beliefs and programs that are in there that we can be pretty unaware of.
That is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to make sure, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to make sure to link that in the show notes. So if you're listening and this is something you're interested in, make sure you go to the show notes and subscribe, download it, click the link so then you can get access to this. I know that I'm going to when we're done and try it out, because that's such a beautiful offer that you have for anybody that can be able to kind of get into your energy and learn more about this before they know or before they work with you. So thank you for that.
Sure, of course.
Now, I know something that you were speaking about a little bit before too, and maybe we did already tap into this, but I'd love to go into it a little bit more, is the power of tapping into our emotional energy field. What does this mean a little bit more? Like, how is this something that they can do via the Freebie, or is this something else that they can do in another way?
They can definitely do it via the Freebie. When I'm talking about using the power of our emotional energy field, what I mean is that however we feel emotionally, we're radiating that out into our environment in our field. So if we feel calm and clear and centered, other people will feel that energy from us. If we are anxious, other people will feel that energy from us. So whatever energy state we're in, we will tend to attract or repel people depending on the energy that we're radiating. Or also, to get more, well, I don't want to get too technical here, but we tend to attract people who are slightly either lower energy state because they are literally drawn to our energy, they want to raise their own energy up, or they're at about the same wavelength as us. We tend to repel people who are at a very different wavelength than us. They could be a much higher wavelength or much lower wavelength depending on where we're at. Like if we're really up and happy, if a prospect comes to us who's really depressed, they may not be able to work with us, because energetically we are just way beyond their reach and they'll feel uncomfortable, right? So basically, but who do we want to work with? We want to work with people who are on our wavelength. Those are our soul tribe people. But my point is, the higher your own energy state, which means the calmer you are, the happier you are, the clearer you are, the higher your energy state is, the higher energy state people you will attract will have a higher energy state. And those people are people that are a pleasure to work with, and I don't want to, but for myself, one of the reasons I got out of healthcare is when people are really stressed and ill, their energy tends to be kind of a low vibration and it's a little bit heavy. And I really wanted to work with people who are in that high creative dynamic state, because that's, for me, is exciting and fun, and I love that. And I wanted to be around people who are around that state and raise people up even more. So that's what I'm talking about with the energy, emotional energy, is the more happiness you have, the more you attract other people who are happy, it's the law of attraction. Law of attraction absolutely is real. It's real and it works and it's true.
Got it. Yes. Okay. This makes so much sense. So now I'm curious about, because there's a huge conversation around this, and there's a lot of women, even my clients that I know that I work with, and there's this question of, okay, then how do I honor my emotions? How do I honor where I'm at? How do I allow myself to feel the sadness, the anger, the frustration, those lower vibe frequencies, and still be abundant and successful and sign clients and make money, or go through a health maybe they are in like a health struggle, or like last year there were moments, like the first 3 months that I was pregnant, I had insane morning sickness. So I know that there are times, right? There's times in our lives where they're not linear and they are up and down, and we have emotions, and we are humans or we're, these spiritual beings in a human experience. So can you speak to that for a second? How do you honor that? How do you feel that, those emotions, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, I totally know what you mean.
Okay.
So, when negative emotions come up, sadness or anger, the most important thing really is to not resist it, to really accept it in yourself, to really accept it and feel it. Don't push it under the rug, and don't try to just positive think yourself out of it. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see that women can do, because, again, there's this kind of male warrior model with don't have negative emotions, they're not okay, or you're messed up if you have a negative, whatever. You want to honor your emotions and feel your emotions, but you also want to not get, how can I say, have them control you. Because whenever we have a negative emotion, it's basically indicating that our life force energy on some level is being blocked by some old negative belief about ourselves or the world that we may be completely unaware of. So it's important to just accept the feeling, but also see that feeling as almost like the thread that will guide you, or the breadcrumb, whatever you want to call, that will guide you to identify where your life force energy is trying to move, where it's trying to go to the next level, And so I see negative emotions as almost like a healing, it's like a healing crisis where some deep wound is coming to the surface, or some deep limiting belief, or some maybe negative belief about ourselves is trying to come through our body and come into our conscious awareness so that it can be healed and released. So when you start to see it that way and see that there's really gold there in those negative emotions, but it's about knowing how to transform them. I'm not saying don't get rid of them, they're bad. They're there for a reason, really. Yeah. So you want to use them as a tool to take you to the next level. And that's where the mastery comes in. This is something I've been doing for 25 years. And I've had 25 years of experience, so I can speak to it. And that's why I do what I do, is I guide other women, because as women, we have very powerful emotional bodies. And that energy can be used as a creative healing force when we know how to transform it and use it as that. Because that's what it is. It's life force energy. I hope that answered your question.
No, that answered it beautifully. I think that was, I see this in my daughter. My daughter is almost a year. And she has a moment where she, maybe she falls down and she'll like hurt herself, or, maybe she doesn't get what she wants in that second because she's in that phase of growth and understanding boundaries and all of the things. And she'll cry and she'll like let it out, and then in a couple seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, she's happy, she's okay, she's released it, she's had the growth, she understands. And she is constantly this mirror and this reminder to me of exactly what you just said, is there's nothing wrong, and we've been conditioned as women, I think, to, we're oversensitive and our emotions are baggage, and it makes us like all the things that, maybe we've heard in our lifetime that has conditioned us again to believe that these emotions mean that we can't also, like, if we have the emotions, it's going to equal less success or less money or, emotional clients, or like any of those things, which, I mean, gosh, we're all emotional, so it's okay to have an emotional client. But we've been conditioned, like we're talking about a lot in this episode, of if we feel these things, therefore it'll equal less positive things in our life. So I think when you spoke to this, it was just a beautiful reminder that your emotions are opportunities for healing. Having feelings come up is not you can't have this, or you can't be successful, or everything's falling apart, or everything is bad. It's a moment, and opportunity for this transition and for elevation of where can this bring more healing? Where can this bring more awareness? Where can this bring more growth? And I think what you're kind of saying is like your emotions and your feelings can also coexist with success and abundance and wealth too.
Of course. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Oh, definitely. Yes. Yeah, no, it's not like they're antithetical. You know, they're obviously, yeah, no, of course they can.
So beautiful. Okay, I love this. So something that you had mentioned as well is, you're talking about this creative flow, or maybe this was just something that I know you mentioned that, when I always have you filled out a form. So I always have my podcast guests fill out a form and let me know what are some of the things that you're super passionate about talking about right now. And you mentioned about dropping into this creative flow. And I'm curious on what does this look like for you then? How do you help your clients drop into the creative flow, or even what it looks like for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. When I talk about creative flow, it's kind of like being in the right place at the right time, doing whatever you're being guided to do, and then things start kind of happening around you and for you because you're aligned with the creative flow of the universe. There is this creative force, so we could call it source, or maybe some people call it God or whatever, that's creating everything around us all the time. And when we drop into harmony with that, when we're being guided by our soul and our intuition instead of our linear mind to do what we sense intuitively is right for us to be doing, coincidences start happening, things start opening up, opportunities start happening, because our creative energy is in alignment with that higher creative flow. So the only thing that stops us from doing that is we've all been programmed to basically worship our linear mind, or to be controlled by our linear mind, which is, no, the logical thing is to do this, or the logical thing is to do that, or just, this is the next thing I should do. And sometimes the linear mind it's totally fine to follow your linear mind, but sometimes your linear mind will actually limit you in your creativity, because really all the greatest inventions that have ever been made have been made through the nonlinear mind. It's creating something new that's never been created. And by definition, if you follow your linear mind, it's very hard to create anything new, because the linear mind is things that are already known, and following things that are already known. So as an entrepreneur, probably the most important thing in creating success in a business is having a unique brand and being able to honor that unique brand that sets you apart from the other people that are doing what you're doing or similar to what you're doing. And that the only way we can do that is by honoring our soul, by honoring being in that creative flow, because that's our brand. That creative flow is your brand. That's your soul. And if we have a soul-aligned business that's really like, this is my mission, my business is my mission, a lot of my clients are those kinds of women. Their business is not just their business, it's their life mission. For us to be in alignment with our life mission, we have to be in alignment with our soul. Why? Because we're really channeling what our soul wants us to channel down and out into the world. And that means being able to honor it and listen to it, and not be sidetracked by the linear mind. The linear mind is the programmed mind. The linear mind is the programmed mind. So that's why we're getting a hold of whatever program someone has that's blocking them in any way really opens them up creatively and really opens them up to a higher level of success. Because if I had listened to my linear mind, I would never be able to see anyone's aura. No way. I would not have been able to do it. Why? Because my linear mind going, you're nuts. That doesn't even exist. So we have to be open, and the only way to be open is to access that creative mind That's beyond the linear mind, beyond the programmed mind. And that's why it's important to get rid of all that programming. however you do it, and there's different ways of doing it.
That makes so much sense. Thank you for creating so much clarity around that. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this made so much sense, and I don't even think that there's more that I can go into, because I'm like, yeah, like I was over here with the praise hands, like the praise hands emoji, like yes, yes, yes. I was just like nodding my head completely in agreement, like fuck yes, all of this. I literally could not go into any more deep depth about it. I think it's something that I teach on. Like it's so funny. I have a program right now called WBM. It's called the Wealthy Babe Method. And it's the infusion between the spirituality and the energetics and the practical strategy of starting a business, and everything really, like this whole week that it launches the module on is a branding. And so when you're talking about this energetic with branding and the vibe and the feeling that people receive when they come into contact with you is 100% the message that I was trying to convey and get across. It's this energetic feeling in who you are at your core when you allow that light to shine, when you've stripped away all of those reasons on why being who you are, liking what you like, or having the personality or the quirks that you do is wrong or bad, or you won't be loved for them. When you strip that all away and you allow yourself to embrace and own that, you really do create this potency in the world that is so felt and understood and magnetizing. And again, I think like in the way that you worded that was just such a beautiful it was just beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you worded it beautifully too, Autumn. That was great. Oh yeah. No, totally. That's totally it. Oh yeah.
Thank you. I love this. Like, yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm curious now. We're kind of getting to the end here, and this came up for me when I was thinking about like, what do I want to know from Sandra? And I'm curious if there's ever been, a moment in time or something that you can recall on when you listened to your inner guidance. And maybe this was when I don't want to speak for you, but perhaps it was when you shifted your career and your practice and your work in what you're doing in the world. But if there was ever a time where you listened to your inner guidance and it led you to more success and fulfillment.
Well, definitely exactly what you just said.
Yeah. That's a big one.
You already knew. When I was working as a chiropractor, I was really starting to feel like I was like, literally these patients would come in like, why didn't you just take some Tylenol? Because I felt like I was just working on their body and taking away their physical pain, but not getting into what I really felt would really help them get more fulfillment in their life on a much deeper level. But they, people are either ready or they're not ready to receive it, and I realized I really needed to work with women who are really ready to go to the next level, who are really ready to receive more success, more fulfillment, and really ready to shine their light, and it really wasn't that difficult to make the transition. Like I said, I was already an entrepreneur, and I just found like I was just attracting more women entrepreneurs to me. So it wasn't that difficult of a transition. There was a little bit of time when I closed my office, because I work from home now. I have a home office. That was kind of like, wow, okay, I guess it's official. I'm no longer a chiropractor. But after that, it was just, it's just worked out really well for me. I'm really happy with my life choices and very fulfilled in my life right now.
I'm so happy to hear that. I think that's such a powerful thing to hear from any woman. Like, what an expanding, what an opportunity to be an expander, to show that at any time and season and point in your life that it's safe to choose again. It's not even is it safe to choose again, it's necessary to choose again. It's essential to choose again. I can only imagine, like, what if you never allowed yourself that permission and that space to make this transition and pivot in your life. All of the women and the people and the entrepreneurs who would not have your work and not come in contact with you, or the vibration in which you would have in the world if you didn't follow your bliss and your light and honor what's truly in your soul. It's just, again, this beautiful reminder, and sometimes the things that we don't say or we don't always talk about that aren't said in a podcast interview or in a conversation, but it's this silent permission, this silent reminder that at any point, it doesn't matter how far deep you are into a business that you have, or a calling that you were called to previously, or a business that you have, it's okay at any point to listen to your soul and say, I get to choose again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, you need to.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's fucking necessary.
Absolutely.
So is there any final, before we wrap up, there's one more thing that I wanted to ask you, but is there any other messages that you had channeled through that you felt called to share today, or do you feel like you kind of shared all of the things that you wanted to say?
I think you really hit on everything I wanted to know. Yeah.
So happy. Sometimes things, before, as you get talking, you channel through messages, especially from all the women that are very energetic and spiritual. Sometimes downloads come through from guides. So I wanted to make sure that there was space for that. But something that I always ask, and I'm always so curious about this, because especially as women, like we were talking about beforehand, there's this programming around us being able to receive and be proud of our accomplishments and be proud of our successes and allow ourselves to receive love and praise and acknowledgement for the work or the things that we're doing in our life. And so it's always been very, very important for me to create space and to change the conversation around celebration and receiving. So I'm curious, what are you celebrating?
What am I celebrating right now?
Yeah.
What am I celebrating? Good question. Well, we're taking a 3-week trip to Egypt in January. So I'm kind of celebrating that. I've been wanting to go to Egypt my entire life. And I guess that's what I'm celebrating.
That's a phenomenal thing to celebrate. What an incredible opportunity. Like 3 weeks of travel, expansion, of probably meeting so many incredible people, experiencing so many new things. I'm celebrating that with you. I can't wait to hear all about how your trip went.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've always been drawn to the pyramids and the temples, and I'm looking forward to just being in those, and if they're like power spots now, energetically, and experiencing the energy in the temples, and yeah, I'm excited.
Totally fascinating. That's such an amazing celebration. Well, I'm celebrating you. It's gonna be like, oh my gosh, can January come? Now, I'm going to put all your links and everything in the show notes. So everybody, if you're listening, don't worry. Everything's going to be in the show notes. But for anybody who's impatient and wants to go follow you right now, where are the hubs or the platforms that would be best suited to find you?
Oh, well, my website definitely, and that's, innerwealthywoman.com. My website. There's also, I'm on Facebook. My page is called Inner Wealthy Women. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, those are my two. My Inner Wealth Toolkit is on my website. If you scroll down on the home page to the very bottom of the page, the toolkit is right there, and you can download it for free on the website. So that's the thing I want to make sure people are aware of, because that is a very handy tool if you want to start breaking through that old stuff and shining more of your light. It's right there and available for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you so much for your time, your brilliance, your knowledge, all of your expertise and your love, and this beautiful kit that anybody, and hopefully everybody downloads and is able to utilize and start to see some really beautiful shifts in their life through opening up that awareness and having that knowing within themselves, like what are some of the areas that are blocked, where are some things you can focus on, and what's showing up for you. So again, thank you so much, Sandra, for sharing your time and your energy and your brilliance and your knowledge and all of the things. It was such an honor to have you, and it was just so great. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you. It was great chatting with you, Autumn.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So thank you guys so much for also listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.